One of the things that, let me say, I'm an engineer, and I'm basically, as you can see, I'm a tool junkie. And one of the things that he, right off the bat, I'm taking his class, and he says, let the wood come to you. And wait a minute. The wood ain't moving. The wood ain't going nowhere. I'm the one doing all the movement. And I heard other people say that. And, that plays with my mind. And what he meant was, go easy. Sometimes I have a tendency to be bull in the china shop. So, he was, go easy, and it is like that. I put my glasses, I made some notes. What he says, basically, number one, he had, in his class, he was a basement, he had 5 lathe, and you had individual lathe, and he was just coaching all 5 of us for 3 days, which is excellent. And it's an 8-hour class, and he gave you lunch, and it was good. He also has a room, half the size of this room, with a lot of his work. Oh my God. Also, he has a dehumidifier in there, but he has a lot of, some of his work is astronomical. I mean, what he did. But anyway, some of his philosophy is develop books in hollow forms. A lot of that, okay? And he uses low-tech approach. And I was sure so many tools he had, and he believed in breaking the rules. What makes you at a wood turner is the process and the experience. That's one of the things it says. Let the tip of a sharp tool seek the energy of the wood, not as a conqueror, but as an equal.
Very zen.
Yeah, that's, I was reading the book in bed and it kind of, okay. He says, when working with, and what flew me over is working with green wood. Okay, as most of us know, here, you come out from working with flat work. And when, I built cabinets and furniture and all that, and bedrooms, and one of the things you worry about is wood movement. Even in dry kiln wood, you worry about the wood movement, cross grain, and all this stuff. And now he's talking about green wood. And it's, where does it go? Anywhere, But he says you have to know your medium. Okay, well, I don't know my medium. But anyway, he says, evaluate the species of wood, the color, the texture, the personal preference, the function of the piece that you intend, and wood's inherent potential to move. And why turn green? Control was the wrong approach. Controlling what, discover, anticipate movement, direction, and how much distortion is predictable. I flunked that one. And wood does not respond well to temperature and humidity. We all know that. And preserving the wet wood he had in the backyard over there, and he lives in the hills. A lot of logs and under shavings and wet out there under trees and everything. Okay, preserving, block up this and seal the end grain, block up to the desired shape, is stored in a cool, neutral climate, wrap in plastic, and mold and let it spalten. And he likes to turn spalten wood. I guess it doesn't move any as much as, this is what I turned in his class, this piece is here. Number one, he says, if you're gonna draw a tenon, he drew this here, do two of them. So when you turn it around, it gives you the flexibility of not being married to one, but have the option of, once you do this side, move, then you decide what to do here, and you have more of a space here, or more wood here to decide later on, not just be from the beginning. That's what it says. I turned this out of ash. I have not sanded or anything like that since I came out of class. And you can see this almost round, but it's not. And
Was that wet wood when you started?
this is cherry. I wear some of the wood in my shirt. It was so wet that I had a string of. And look at it. We didn't know that there was a hole in the center, but so I was fixing. I think I'm just going to put some epoxy on it on both sides and finish it. But this is how I came out of class. This is what I brought. I didn't sand it or anything like that. But this was wet, and turning a little bit, about a 1/16 of an inch difference. Oh, by the way, I was doing one and I messed up and it cracked. So he cut it in half and gave me a lesson. Yeah, I turned this out of, I think this is cherry too. And it's a little bit oval, but not enough to most people to realize it. Once you start looking for it, you see it. But so,
Interesting.
yeah,
Put on this.
yeah.
This one here probably needs a little bit more. Yeah, really should have rocked on that.
Yeah. Is this one? Yeah, this rocks a little bit. This one, making all that gave me great ideas on this. I turned this. This was a branch. And he's the one that put it in the lathe, pith to pith. And I turn it this way. And then put it in to hollow it. And it cracked this was real wet. This is ash. And you can see this crack heel on the pith and pith. So some of the stuff is, I don't know, basically. Okay.
Ash will crack real easy.
Yeah,
And if your wall thickness is not the same going all the way around, it's going to have a better chance of cracking or jacking because your thickness is different.
I had a hard time hollowing this. I'm not there yet.
Well, it takes experience. You got to start out someplace.
I have later on when I got some tools here that I'm trying to mess around with hollowing. And what I'm trying to do is, instead of hollowing through a little hole, hollowing with the same tools, hollowing this, and look what I'm looking at. So that once I get here, I get a sense of what I'm not looking at. I can't see the cutter cutting here, but here I can see it. Then I'm trying to get some experience using the tool before I go back in. So I have turned.
Before we move on, the piece here, the ash
Go ahead. We can discuss more about that. So, have has anyone ever heard of kintsugi? Kintsugi?
Yeah, when you burn it and then paint it.
Well, that's shushugi bomb. That's the.
Okay.
Kintsugi was burning. Kintsugi, I saw there was a whole thing on a couple weeks ago on 60 Minutes about it. It's the art of taking broken pottery, Japanese, and they fix it. But when they fix it, they don't try to hide the broken parts. They enhance it. So they'll take a piece that's broken. When they put it back together, they'll fill it in with gold, or they'll fill it in with some contrasting color. So a piece like that is perfect, thing to use. I know some people were giving some suggestions about putting it on the opposite side and giving laces to it with use copper.
Put a zipper on there that's partially open.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's like the neck, yeah, that's making what it says, and he was saying put in copper like a staples.
There's so many different.
So many,
Is that for our lacing demo in January?
Yeah,
We're gonna
save it for January, the lacing.
yeah,
So pieces that are broken are not always
Yeah, but
garbage.
if you hollow that out more to smooth the inside, you
I-
can use the stresses and it'll crack somewhere else.
yeah. See, like this used to be round, this is a piece of mahogany.
Pull it up flat.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna find that green wood will work. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but turning end grain versus side grain, you get a different amount of warping. If you make a bowl out of end grain bowl, it'll warp a lot less because the grain is inverted. And what happens with side grain is that
Yeah, this,
if you take a board, for instance, and look at it, the length of the board will not
yeah, it's
change as much as the width of
the width, yeah.
So it'll shrink in one direction more than it'll shrink in the other direction.
Yeah.
It's sideways.
Yeah, so this is the best piece I have done so far.
Mahogany?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is out there by Ace Hardware in Wellington. They cut a bunch of mahogany trees and close to my house, and I picked up what I could lift.
That sounds like the rest of us.
Don't pick up what you can't lift.
You can't pick up one of them.
So,
Now, are any of these bowls, well, all these bowls were once turned. In other words, you turn them at one time and you don't go back.
this is twice.
Okay, now when you turn that, the first time, what did you make the wall thickness? How thick was it?
This is about an inch,
Yeah, it's usually, I think,
about 10% is what I've read.
10%.
Yeah, yeah. This is maple. This is wet.
yeah, well, it's going to,
It's and see, I've done some. Yeah, and some. This was wet. All this maple came out of Lake Harbor. If you all know where Lake Harbor is, it's between South Bay and Clewiston, between North Place and the cane fields. All this was wet. This is and this did not warp. But much.
Depends on the wood, 'cause
Yeah.
like our Florida mahogany does not move much. And I turned a bowl, a 16-inch bowl out of fresh wet mahogany, and it went a 16th inch out of round. And I turned the same shape, the same size out of wet camphor wood, and it went 15/16 inch out of round.
15, 16th?
Yeah.
That's almost an inch.
Almost an inch. Some woods react a whole lot more than others. Mahogany is very, very stable.
So what I'm doing now is, this is what I'm doing. Okay, this is 10%, so I'll return this one. This is, and it dried awfully quick. It was 17%, a month ago. And I just have it on the outside of my house, under the eave, on the shelves, and I put it in, and this is part of the same mahogany that this came from.
You have a temperature, you have a moisture meter?
Yes, sir.
The needle you point at?
It's no contact, it's just, I don't know how, okay. I used to have a chart where if you measure the resistance of the wood, tells you what the moisture content is. But I got away from that. And all this is butter brush from my neighbor's tree came down, and I turned this green. This is hardwood. I mean,
Was the tree dead?
I don't think so. No.
Because if that was really wet, that would be warped all crazy, bottom brush.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe the tree was dead, or that part of the branch was.
To tell you the truth, I can't.
Yeah, it warps some of the,
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty wood, but except it's all full of. But to me, that's what makes it
Well, that
interesting.
would be, again, another design element, because you could take all those voids and you could either epoxy them or put different materials, turquoise in those voids. That really makes the bowl pop.
Yeah, one of my failures or experiment is when I turn one finish and I put epoxy on it, but then you have to do a little bit thicker so that you have enough material to thin out the epoxy and do everything. So again,
Well, you're learning.
I'm learning.
You're learning. It takes
So
a while.
this is what I'm doing with wood, and I'm just experimenting between wet and dry. And one of the things that I look at dry wood is you better have some sharp tools, and you go through quickly. Your tools will dull quickly, and also wear a glove with well, yeah, I got a finger out. Anyway, I was playing around with a piece of end grain that is dry, that is hard, out of this maple, and it didn't work out too good. And didn't wear a glove, and I drew blood. So, okay. So now let me tell you about what I do with the tools. I make these things, and if somebody wants this, they can have it. What I do is I turn my own handles, and the reason is I'm also play around with metal. So I turn this like this, and it's a lot easier to sharpen when you don't have the handle on it. You know, I use the Wolverine jig just like we almost all of do, and it's a lot easier just, take this off, and I don't have to worry about getting out of the way. It's a lot easier. And I got a bunch of other tools that I have collected through 40 years of collecting tools. So this is Thompson. I can't remember where this one is, too many years ago. And if you're looking at, I made this, you can see it's just oak, I split it on the table, so I made it and put this. This is just 01 tool steel, just a bar. About a 3-foot bar in a machine shop place. It has not been tempered or anything like that, just as it came out of the shop. And it holds an edge pretty good. So, we're all looking at different stuff. And it's working great. I wish I'd made a better looking handle, but it's working. So, one of the things I've learned is when you're attaching the tailstock, bevel the back of it. When you put this against the wood and you screw it, and I like to use the concrete blue screws. They're a little bit stronger than anything else that you may use. These are pretty stout screws and pretty good metal. And, I just drive them. So, but when you drive this into your wood, some of the wood will stick here. So you need to let a little bit of space so that material can go there. So just take a chamfering tool and chamfer it. Okay. Then I turn this so that I have a wrench that I can, that I can take it off because and talking about this, I just made this. I had an extra, I don't need two the same size, so I took this. So if I'm turning a big piece like this, I like a bigger faceplate. And I just made this. My old lathe, I just took a nut that fit the 1/8 inch. I have an old Powermatic 45 that I rebuilt. By the way, I'm trying to sell. And I just took one of this in the metal lathe and welded this to it. So if somebody wants a 1'8" to a Powermatic, and this fits, you all know, recently was blessed with being able to acquire a Switch 16 robust lathe, and my God, that is I don't call it Cadillac, I call it Rolls Royce. And it comes with 1.25 inches. And I got some nuts and I'm making some tools. What I've done before is just take one of this nut and take a faceplate and weld it to it and make a faceplate for it, a bigger faceplate. So if somebody talking about Ellsworth, what he was doing in Halloween, he was using something like this. I made this, but it's a piece of aluminum pipe, and I turn aluminum, and the tools fits in. He uses a branch. He just had a regular old branch, and that's what he's. I said, well, I mean, the branch even had the bark on it. But that's what he was using. That's what I used to turn this. So I said, wait a minute, I can do a little bit of that. So I bought this. This is what he used. I bought this too from him. This is what he used. It's a 9/16 tool steel. This is a metal cutting tool. And he grinds his on the lathe, on a metal grinder, and CA glue to this. And he says he heats it up a little bit if you have to replace it, heats it up a little bit and replace it. That's what he used. I made one of this because this was a little bit light to me, and I put some lead in it. I melted some lead and put it in, but my God, it's too heavy. I'm so I got to take the lead out. It is too heavy to work. So also I was looking at, God, what's that guy from Michigan? Jameson. He had a hollowing system. Called Jameson system or something?
Jameson style.
Yeah. And as I told you, I made one. This is for the Powermatic that I'm trying, okay? And, this is what I had on hand. This, and I made it out of stainless steel, and I hold the tool here. Now, one of the things with this is, being square, if you get a catch, doesn't give. You need it round so that when you're hollowing, if you have a catch, it turns and it frees itself. So I was using this, I've used this, I was playing around with it on a regular open bowl so I could, just get the feel for it. And that's how I found out that this, not as good as this.
As long as you have the cutter at the right height, there's hardly any problem. If you're too low inside, you're gonna get catches.
Yeah, and if you can't see, the feel for it is what I was, okay. So that's what I do. One of the things I also learned is, we move the tool around, the tool posts around and everything. And if you put this on the tool post, on the shaft and tighten it, it keeps your height. So, you move it around and you'll keep your height. Simple things like
You could buy those through one of the
whatever, yeah.
places.
Yeah.
For that little ringer, just go to Home Depot and get a.
Yeah, and we're talking about grinding. When you're grinding this on a lot of us have a CBN wheel. You have a lot of real, especially 180 grit. You get a real almost powder metal flying off the wheel. You don't want to breathe that.
Get a rare earth magnet.
Yes.
Right out of the hard drive. That's what I did. And put it underneath your.
Put it in a location where you will not try to take it off. Now, if you have a chance to get an old hard drive, computer hard drive, the magnets for a computer hard drive are a heck of a lot more stronger than the regular medium,
They're rare earth magnets.
Yeah, this things are strong. And I got it on my grinder, and it picks up all the dust, all this metal dust from this. So.
Anytime you're grinding metal, you should be wearing your dust mask or better.
And glasses.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's again, this lathe I got has a one-way live center, and I just made some cones for it. I got this one, I got a bigger one. Because of my metal lathe, and playing around with it. So,
Back on the topic of the magnets, I've never done this. Maybe I need to. I've seen some other people take the magnets and put them inside their the flute, so that way the chips won't come back.
Yeah,
Put them in here?
I put an article into, the AW
Put 'em here?
magazine on there. You get a rare earth magnet the same size as your flute and put it
Stick it in
into
there
the
sideways.
flute, maybe an inch or 2 inches somewhere for the tip. And then when the shavings come off, they hit the magnet and it goes over your.
Yeah, because I've actually burned,
Oh, yeah.
put my pinky because of the,
That's why heavy glove.
yeah.
You could also do it with wood, for that matter. You could also take a piece of dowel, anything to prevent the wood going further back and hitting your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and going to this, I try a vacuum chuck, and I make difference. I got a vacuum pump, if you believe it, out of Okeechobee from a milking parlor. It's a milking machine, they use vacuum. So, okay. And I try, and that's what I went ahead and, for my new lathe, I had to buy to make them, and later on I saw, and I tried some of this. I made this out of for my vacuum chuck, and I got a bigger one too. But this is working out pretty good for the vacuum.
Know how you put the bowl up against it.
I'm sorry.
Pick up a bowl and put it on.
Yeah, and I use the center here to center it.
And you turn on the vacuum and
And it holds it right here. One of the things, if you turn it real thin, I found out this, some of the wood are very porous. And it will not hold the vacuum.
Norfolk.
So if you put it in, make sure that it's tight.
They have a solid piece of wood.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you have any checks, even with sometimes.
Yeah, this will not work. This will not work on a vacuum chuck. You would have to use a jam chuck if you want to turn the bottom of this, so it will not work on a vacuum, and and so that's what I do. For my old Powermatic, you can see old stuff. I made this came off of here, but I made a vacuum chuck. Now, a lot of the vacuum chucks, and this is for the new Sweet 16 lathe. I made this. It's on, got 2 bearings here, 2 bearings here, and just basically, and I use a hydraulic hose from the vacuum to here, and it's pretty, hydraulic hoses won't compress as a vacuum hose, and it works out pretty good. This is the second try that I made. The first one I made it too thin here and it broke because there was too much, the hose was sticking out too long, and it's a heavy hose. So I had to make a support for it to hold it here, but it's working out real good for me. But for my old Powermatic, a lot of time I didn't think about I was not too thrilled about the idea of having bearings come in here. So I was looking at how can I vacuum without a rotating piece. And on the Powermatic, I just came into the headstock on the back side and drilled 4 holes, and I bolt this with a gasket to it like this. And this connector fits right here, and my vacuum comes in, and I'm looking at the gauge. you should have a gauge so you know that you're having some vacuum hold in it. And if you want to remove it, you got to be able to let it go. So that's what, and put a filter so that debris doesn't go back into your pump. When you open it up, so that's what this is all about. That's it. That's in the years that I've been through the club, and I took a hiatus for a couple of years because of COVID and stuff like that. We haven't had a good discussion about wet and dry. And I thought, my God, we should do something. So,
I brought a piece in that I turned green. I put it in some chips in a bag. This has happened. I think I had brought a piece in a couple months ago. The other part of this, and what happened, like you mentioned to it, and I've never been able to get a piece not do this in my house. So there's another way to do it. But so my piece starts off like this. It's moldy and it's gross looking, and I've never been able to get a piece not mold on me. With the chips, they always turn soggy and get moldy. But I really don't mind it because it does neat things to the wood. It adds color to it. It adds some textures to it and stuff like that. The only thing is the one that I brought in last time, and I think I'm gonna have to do the same one this one because I can squish the foot a little bit. When I put it on the lathe, I spun it, and I think as soon as this piece hit, it broke my tenon right off. So luckily, I have enough width here to make another one because I can tell this one's gonna probably go on.
Next time, make a bigger tent.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now I know. Right. But,
You can
Put CA glue all the way around your tenon, and especially into the crack of the 90 degree.
okay.
Yeah, where the top of the jaw touches the bottom of the wood, glue that seam around the top of your jaws with CA.
Okay.
Comes right
Because
off.
that'll make it,
I've been doing that for 22 years.
yeah,
you put CA glue around the,
I glue the wood right to the truck.
right around the base of your tenon.
So you're saying
Bowl.
you're saying put the glue here.
Right.
Yeah,
And you're saying chuck it and then
chuck it and then glue around the outside of the jaw to the
You would
wood.
chuck it first.
so you're gluing the chuck to the wood.
The jaws to the tenon.
You don't have to, well, you can.
Not the tenon, but the bottom of your piece.
but
I've been doing that 22 years.
I just put the CA around there.
I do it all the time.
but when I did this piece, you see, I left it fairly thick because I knew this was gonna happen. But
Especially if I'm doing a taller piece.
yeah, I have a,
This is some of the stuff that I learning.
but
I don't,
Yeah, so let's say if this was your chuck, I run a bead of medium CA glue right around where the jaw touches the wood, hit it with the accelerator. And when you loosen it up, 3 jaws pop loose, 1 is stuck, and you just go pop. And then I close the jaws, turn the lathe on, and put the side of I just hit it with like this side of the tool, and that glue pops right off the chuck jaws.
so this is, and I don't know if maybe if I had a nice white piece of wood that I didn't want to spalt like this, then I would think of a different way of doing it. But
No, spalting, I think spalting is beautiful.
yeah.
I think
If
you
I don't have a single piece of plain white wood that I've turned yet. I don't think
Well,
it's
try
out.
before you do that, don't put it in the chip, because that's always contaminated.
Yeah.
Boil your blank in wood, it'll kill everything in it, and then put it in a paper bag.
you boil your wood.
But
Yeah, you boil it in a pot of water.
You said it would.
Okay, boil it in a pot of water.
You can always microwave it too,
yeah, actually, like any other tips? Anyone?
Any-
Discussions?
Yeah,
I know you could probably go on forever about the different,
yeah, and Yes, it is.
Because when you get a faceplate, if there's only like 4 holes, drill 4 more. More holes is better. And then like he said, this is countersunk and that's countersunk. Because if you put the screw through and it's not, the wood will lift this off. So, but add extra holes.
And use hardened screw
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't use drywall.
Take us back.
with a, not with a fine,